Sada Shaukat Ali Kashmiri Sahab. Now the floor is open, and we have some friends here. If you have any question, you can raise a question in Urdu language or in English as you feel comfortable, or if you want to say something, you are also invited to express your views.
Okay, thank you, sir. I have just from long time.
सरदार नासिर अजीज खान ने हाथ खड़ा है.
Thank you, sir. It's okay.
आप अनम्यूट करें ना.
Okay. Okay, thank you, sir. Just I want to go to past about the Pashtun region. There is one province in Pakistan, in the one country in Afghanistan, there is majority is Pashtun. Before the 79, 78, our Pashtun was 100% secular people. Our tradition, there is no militant, there is no religion like now. Just the Pakistan relation with America. When he make the program with European also. He make the program with against the Soviet Union. And he bring the mullaism, the terrorism. He opened the madrasa, the school, for the terrorism and for the religion. Who refund the money for this? Just America, Europe, and he sponsored this. Now we, all region is going to where? To the war. Who inject the terrorism there? Just America and Europe support this and inject this area. Now we demand, okay, this was war with the two, capitalism and the socialism. Okay, this is the past. Now we request to the Europe and to the America to de-inject this madrasa, this school of terrorism, and we should request, we are request to this community, the West community, to de-inject this, the terrorists. We should become the normal people. We don't live there, the normal people. There is the many group. Explain our Kashmiri friend, all, there is many group in who support that. Just we request to the Western community, the Western people, to de-inject, to we become the normal that we was before in 1977, 78. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Ramanullah, for your question and comments, and I would like Mr. Andy to respond to your question. Thank you.
First of all, thank you for your comment, because this is really interesting comments. I know United States and Europe, before they fueled the Taliban, they fueled also the madrasas before. This was a policy against the Soviet Union. I know that the Pashtuns have suffered a lot also. Sometimes they don't have the right to talk their own language. Sometimes they get papers from the Afghan state, they don't get it in their own language. I think we should support the struggle of the Pashtun. And it's true that before the Pashtun were a secular movement, they became an Islamic movement because of the support of the ancient leaders of United States and also with the still little support of Europe also. But before, if we talk about the Taliban, they were always fueled by Europe and United States, if we think about it. Because before the Taliban became in power now, they were fueling the drugs, the opium before. They were in support of the opium. So they always had the money. And if you have the money, you can come in power. It's as easy as that. So they always had the power. This opium is needed by the Western countries. They need it in their hospitals. They need it in the United States. They need it everywhere. So actually, we had before, we were still supporting this Taliban. It doesn't look like this, but before they were supported already because they got the power to have this opium, and we need it in the whole of the world. So Afghanistan is really important. So I understand what you're saying, and it's a fault of the past. They made big disasters, and the big disaster in Afghanistan that we always had foreign powers occupying Afghanistan, and they are still occupied now. They are still occupied. When the Pakistan government was involved in creating this new Taliban government, we had the boss of IC who was there in forming this new Taliban government. So they are always occupied by foreign states. There should be free elections in Afghanistan. There should be a free democratic party system in Afghanistan. But there is always this powers from abroad who want to get Pakistan, who want to get Afghanistan. Next to that, we also have these important copper mines in Afghanistan. They are the most important copper mines in the world. There is nowhere such a big copper mine field anywhere in the world. Afghanistan is needed for that. So there are also foreign powers fighting to get the support of the Afghanistan new leadership to get these copper mines. And we see China is doing a lot. Taliban already said that they wouldn't do anything against the Uyghur movements, the Uyghur repression, because they will be supported by China. So we see also the China-Pakistan economic corridor. So we see we will have this big investments of China into the thing. So I'm afraid that we will still fuel, other powers will fuel this Taliban movement. And I'm afraid for the future of Afghanistan. Because if they don't have free elections, I think there will be, the problems will stay because they will stay occupied, not by the United States, but by Pakistan now.
Thank you very much for your response to Mr. Rahmanullah Khan. So any one of you, if you have any question, comments?
زه خو ټول ناول رحمان الله نه مننه کوم چې زه د کانفرنس ته دعوت کړم او دلته د ځان سره راوستم. د افغانستان مسله داسې ده چې د امریکا او اروپا ټول هیوادونه چې کوم دي دوی په افغانستان کې یوه داسې خونړۍ لوبه وکړه چې هم یې څه د پاسه 6 میلیونه افغانان ووژل او هم یې اوس افغانستان خلک او افغانستان یوازې پرېښوده. نه طالبان د اپیمو نه سوپر پاور جوړ شوی دی او نه طالبان سوپر پاور وو او نه دی. دا د امریکې او د ناټو میشتو هیوادونو د پاکستان په ملاتړ باندې د طالبانو نه سوپر پاور جوړ کړی نن سبا.
I say thank you to everyone. And he said there is a 6 million Afghan killed in this war in last 40 years. And now he cannot become a power with the fame or drugs. In the European and America, the Afghan live alone in this war, and we were suffer many 6 million people killed in this war from against Soviet Union until now.
خبره ډیره واضحه ده. د افغانستان ټول خلک په دې پوهیږي چې امریکا او اروپا میشتو هیوادونو په افغانستان کې کومه لوبه وکړه. دا که د چین سره جګړه ده یا د روس سره جنګ او جګړه وه، دا د دوی د مفادو لپاره په پټه باندې د طالبانو سره د دوحې مذاکرات شروع کړه او افغان دولت چې جوړ کړی هم دوی و، هم دوی په تاوان هم کړی و، ډېرې پیسې پرې لګولې وې، خو د افغان دولت یې بې خبره پرېښوده او د طالبانو سره یې د پاکستان په ترو ډایرک خبرې وکړي کېناسته ورسره او افغانستان یو ځل بیا د تباهۍ او بربادۍ کندې ته ور وغورځوي.
He said that thank you. He said that we were killed for the capitalism, like that, for the system of the CPEC with the China in the European Union in America talk with without government Afghani, just talk with him and he leave the government Afghani alone. And we know the America and Europe play with us just for the something, but he don't think for humanity. Just he play the game for the CPEC or for some opportunity.
او د افغانستان خلک اوس پوهیږي چې دا جګړه د چا وه او امریکا او ناټو میشتو هیوادونو ولې د افغانستان سره دومره خطرناکه لوبه وکړه.
He asked why the world play with us like that and they live alone. They live alone us in Afghanistan. And he support like Taliban something.
Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah, it's a very tough question that why did they play with the Afghani people? I think this is interests of the United States, interests of the Soviet Union, interests of different parts of the world that they played with the people. But it also was always funded. The wars were always funded because you can't make war without funding. Somebody said here that terrorists cannot play a role without state funding. There was always state funding. There was an Afghan ISIS organization who was funded by the former Afghanistan government. And there was also the real ISIS. So you always have this funded wars there. And one of the most important things that they don't say in public is this resources that are still there in Afghanistan. That's one of the most important things, that they want these resources because the world is in need of these resources. So that's one of the things. So I'm really a pity for all the Afghani people that they always had to suffer, that they always had to live in war. They never had, in the last 20 years, they never had the time without war. They are used to live in this kind of war, in this kind of thing. And now they are a victim again. And until there is no free system in Afghanistan, there is no free elections, there is no thing, it will stay like this. The Afghans should take the power in their hands. And a lot of people think that the Taliban, as a nationalist movement, is already giving the power to the Afghans. But that's the problem. A lot of people are unaware that they are supported by Pakistan. So that's one of the themes. So another reason is that they use Afghanistan to fund terrorism. They use Afghanistan before the Al-Haqqani network. Everybody was formed by them. They were sending terror cells around the world. This was actually the education camp of terror cells in the world. We were only aware about this. I think a lot of intelligence services were aware before, but we, as the world community, were only aware about this after 11 September. Before we were not aware, and it's a pity. And I want to say sorry to all the people of Afghanistan that they have to live in this sort of circumstances. I really feel a pity for these people, for the women, for the children, for everybody who lost somebody in this last 20 years and before. I really feel a pity for the Afghan people because they were always used as a chess game against each other. There was always done this with these people. I really feel sorry. And I want, on behalf of me as a human rights activist for Post-Versa, excuse me for what happened with the Afghani people all this time. We can never excuse these governments who've done all this suffering to all the Afghani people. But we have to see that there will come new suffering. There will come new economic exploitation from China into Afghanistan. You will see this. So this is happening already. They are making deals already. So the people of Afghanistan will be sold again to China now. So China and Pakistan playing a big role there. So they are always in this big war between world powers. So I'm sorry for all the people of Afghanistan that they had to suffer so much and that they still have to suffer now. I'm sorry for that.
Yes, now.
For the concluding
yeah. Remarks, please.
Yeah, thank you so much for your questions. And as Mr. Andy said, so we show solidarity with you. We support you, and we believe that we need to support what the EU and the US should do is supporting the democratic and the secular forces and supporting women, especially because this is the values of Europe, is supporting human rights, women's rights, freedom of speech. And actually, former mayor of Afghanistan, Mrs. Zarifa Ghaffari, was visiting France last week, a few weeks ago, and she was supported also by the mayor of France, the mayor of Paris. I believe we need to support these people, these secular forces, these women, these leaders. And as Andy said, people believe that this is the Taliban takeover, the Taliban took power, and this is what people have chosen. No, this is not what the Afghani people have chosen. They didn't vote for extremist people, and as you said, the Afghani people are not extremists, but this is it was a process of radicalization. So what the US and the EU should do is to work on de-radicalization in Afghanistan and in these areas, because this is what we need to do to prevent happening terrorist attacks here in Europe or everywhere in the world. So we need to work together on de-radicalization, human rights, women's rights without frontiers, freedom of speech, and support the secular forces. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. If any speaker is left, let me check who is online. Who is there? Okay, so I would like to give floor to Mr. Nasir Aziz Khan for his final remarks, please. The floor is yours, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I just wanted to add a few points. Actually, when Hamid Karzai was the president of Afghanistan, he had support from US and NATO, and people were calling that he is the mayor of Kabul. He is not the president of Afghanistan, but he sustained because he got aerial and ground support from United States and NATO. What happened now recent with Ashraf Ghani government, when they start talk in Doha, Ashraf Ghani government were given a list of 5,500 top extremist Taliban leaders, and they were forced to release these extremists from the jails, from different jails in Afghanistan. And things rapidly changed when they were released, and they start capturing Afghanistan. And second thing, there was the biometric devices. US was collecting data of Afghan people, and especially those who were working with United States and NATO. And when US left Afghanistan in hurry, they left these devices there. They left sophisticated weapons in the hands of Taliban, and now Pakistan and China, they are getting these weapons on they are spending pennies to get these sophisticated weapons. Question arises, if US and NATO was the ally of Afghan government, they should consult with them. They should not force them to release these extremist groups. And we stand with common Afghan people. We extend our solidarity to every secular, progressive Afghan person, especially women and girls who are the victim of radical and extremist policies of Taliban in Pakistan. It is the prime responsibility of United States and NATO to undo their mistakes, what they did in recent past. What happened in late 80s, 90s, that is the past. many things has happened. But what they did recently in Doha and after this rapid capture of Afghanistan, fall of Kabul, they should consider it seriously and play their role to protect common Afghan people who are the victim of terrorism and extremism. I thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you very much. Before ending this conference today, I would like to present few of resolutions for your kind attention. These are the resolutions came from Pakistani administered Kashmir and from the various organizations representing Kashmiri diaspora and also from the United Kashmir People's Nation Party and Jammu Kashmir International People's Alliance. So I would like to present the first resolution. Kashmir studies must be taught at schools as it is enshrined in the Universal Declaration of Human Rights and International Convention on Civil and Political Rights that the students must be taught their local history, culture, poetry, and everything surrounded around their native homeland. So it is the basic right of every child under the administration of Pakistan to study the history of his and her native region. We reiterate that every ply shall be countered to divide Jammu and Kashmir on religious lines. Restrictions on media, journalists, academia, human rights activists, and especially online propaganda must be discouraged. All such human rights abusers should be criminalized who openly eulogize extremism and terrorism online. Local parties elections must be held in Pakistan administered Kashmir, and women must be given 33% representation as per the law. State subject law in Gilgit-Baltistan must be revived and the land rights of the people must be recognized as disputed region. Various reports of land grabbing by Pakistani military in Pakistan administered Kashmir and Gilgit-Baltistan are very much disturbing, and such activities of the military must be discouraged. Travelers from Pakistan to Pakistani administered Kashmir and from Pakistani administered Kashmir to Pakistan must be provided adequate security so that they could travel without any fear of harassment and intimidation, since these people have no any other opportunity, any other country to go. Their first and foremost destination would always remain as Pakistan, to go abroad or to stay in Pakistan. So I present this resolution for your kind acceptance. Thank you very much for today's conference, your participation, your contribution, and we hope that we shall formulate, we shall draft a memorandum and that will be presented to External Action Service, various committees of the European Parliament, and to the different diplomatic missions in Brussels and across the world. So I
just wanted to ask for one little amendment, if it's possible.
Yes, please.
Because the power to the women, 33%. It would be good to work to 50% of the women. That it's like here that we could start it.
Yes.
If that is possible.
Yes,
to have this amendment.
That is still possible.
Yes.
Actually, I mentioned this
Yeah,
because
but maybe we should go step by step. But I don't know if
in the league, in the law, there is written
Yeah,
that the women will be given 33%.
Okay.
So at least it should be implemented.
Yeah.
Whereas it is not. It is not enforced.
Yes.
Even they are
Okay,
not given
okay.
33%.
So just, I mean, you need to apply the law.
Yes,
This
yes,
is, yeah.
yes.
This
We
is
are
what you are
asking to apply
asking.
the law.
Yeah.
We are
Yes,
stressing
yes.
to apply.
And
But,
working on the
working
future
towards
to get
50-50, yeah.
50%
Yeah.
of the women. Yes, yes.
Gender balance.
No,
the
50% is
government.
good. Is good.
Yeah.
Okay, it would be nice. Okay, thank you. Working on it as an objective in the future, because women can do it in the very good. So we need more women in power.
Yes.
We need more women.
That's we very much appreciate your endorsement and also the editing of this resolution.
Thank you.
And thank you, Ms. Manal. And
You're welcome. Thank you,
for
Mr.
your
Jan.
participation, for your comprehensive support across the region, Afghanistan, Pakistan, and Pakistani administrative Kashmir, and especially the current scenario which is affecting the vulnerable community as the women and children. They are the most vulnerable, not only in Afghanistan, they are as vulnerable in Pakistan and more vulnerable in Pakistani administrative Kashmir, because all the laws which are made in Pakistan are automatically transferred to Muzaffarabad in our part of Kashmir. So they are equally disturbing the culture, languages, history, and everything. So once again, thank you very much, you gentlemen, and thank you very much.
Thank you.
And we will remain in contact, and we will continue working for the good cause of human rights and liberties of the people.
Thank you. Thank you for your presidency.
मैं that ना ना मैं ना ना